All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Good morning, everyone. If you're in the Western time zone, it is morning. And if you're in the Eastern time zone, good afternoon. It's lunch hour. Glad you could hang out with us. And if you're in the Central time zone, it still is sort of a lunch hour kind of thing, I think, general offering. If you're in Hawaii, as we have a few people in Hawaii, I think the good morning thing works for you guys, right? I mean, I think that's it. Yeah, thank you. Wow, look at this. Already in the world of super stickers. RJ Dunn for 20 says, some people buy off Supreme Court justices. I pay for the truth from Mark Thompson and company. Come on. Right on. Right on, RJ. Oh, I love this part. It's so funky. Great show today. Full speed ahead with the full crew. By that, I mean Kim is here.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Albert is here.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah. And the crew, Avila and Shure, will be along with politics next hour. Florida, bottom of the hour. Let's go. I'm excited about what happened last night. I know the Dubs won big, and that was good because I didn't have the Dubs game on. I wanted to focus on our meet and greet, which we did last night, which was really great. 15 people paid to help the show. It was a little bit of a fundraiser. And then got exclusive links to this meet and greet. And Kim was there, and Albert came through, and John Daly came through, and Tony was there, and Courtney was on camera, which she never is on the main show. And more than that, it was so great to talk to those listeners and viewers and learn about them. I have to say, it may be my favorite thing in the world, talking to other people and learning about their lives and their stories. I just love it. It could go on forever. And that's what I found so fun about doing a podcast. You know, I've dry docked my podcast since I started at KGO. And since we started here, it's just a lot of work. You know, booking guests and getting studio time and all this sort of thing. I know everybody's got a podcast. I had it for 7 years, I think, and then closed it down. But, or as I say, dry docked it because I might go back to it. But the best part of it is the point, was getting to know guests, even, you know, as you get to know them as they talk about some bit of public policy or, you know, some insight that they have that on an article they've written or a book they've authored. In any case, there was a little bit of that last night. So we said it was going to be the happy half hour. We're going to make it 45 minutes. But just to introduce everyone and actually have a decent back and forth, we had to take all the time. And we went, what, about an hour and a quarter, do you think, Kim?
Yeah,
something like
I think
that?
so.
Yeah. I could have gone on for another hour.
I loved it. Yeah.
I loved meeting everyone. It's a real cool thing. And as I look at what we did, you know, just sort of reflect on it, I want to do another one in, you know, whatever, I don't know what time frame, but at some point, and we'll try to even make modifications. But for all who participated and joined us on the very first, and I know that there was a Warriors game on, and you know, it's always tough to find the perfect time to do something. I so appreciate you joining. And I will tell you, I wish we'd had more time. I really do. You know, Ben joined from Florida. I didn't know where Ben was until he was, you know, told us he was in Florida. Everybody had an interesting story and a story about how they had connected to KGO, sometimes through their parents. And they were KGO listeners sort of shocked by the fact that KGO went away. We had a lot of, I thought, really great moments learning about others and interacting and I hope everybody was happy. As I say, I wish we'd had more time, but sadly, the time at some point is done. But I think the next one we will put aside more time. Don't you think, Kim? That would be probably a good way to go.
I think so. Although I have to say, it's so cool to get to know the people that are with us every day. Some of the people, and in some cases, see them or hear them. Yeah, what a great night.
Yeah, it was really special. Hey, smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. You got to tube the U in the right way. That's the way it works.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Thank you all for being here. There's a lot going on. As I mentioned, we'll talk to Avila and Shure about the debt limit. We'll also talk to them about Clarence Thomas and Ginny Thomas, who clearly are bought and paid for with a continuous revenue stream from that billionaire donor and also the Leonard Leo pot of gold. We are living in a Leonard Leo America, as you're aware. Leonard Leo, the Federalist Society head who provided the lists of Supreme Court justices and also federal justices, those appointees that he, the Federalist Society, as reflected in Leonard Leo, wanted to see appointed, and they have been appointed. So when you see the rollback of Roe, when you see these draconian decisions on the part, I was trying to think of whether to ding draconian, sorry, and I think it is a ding word. When you see those handed down, that is Leonard Leo. And now with that tremendous influx of cash that he got from the billionaire who donated over $1 billion to the Federalist Society, we're going to see more of it. He'll be able to influence legislative races across the country. So that, again, is the backdrop against which all the Clarence Thomas stuff happens. I'll get to it in a moment. The writer's strike underway in Hollywood, and it's expected to be a long strike. I've talked to you about this before. I just will tell you that I'll give you a lighter thing that's happening, because one of the things that is interesting with the writer's strike, of course, is that they're all writers. They're all insanely creative people. So you're expecting that their picket signs are likely going to be a little more creative, yet you're limited, right? It can only fit on the picket sign. Some of the best picket signs of the Hollywood strike so far we have for you. Here are a couple of them. Albert, can you read them for me? Because, yeah, thank you. Writers Guild of America. Succession without writers is just The Apprentice. Wrote ChatGPT this. There are a lot of ChatGPT references because that is real. They are going to have AI cranking scripts out. Let me see.
Yeah, this one says you're going to be the villains in a limited series about this.
That's very strong.
You came up with Quibi.
Yeah, trolling the studio executives who came up with Quibi. Give up just one yacht, says this. Yeah. It is weird that the heads of these studios are claiming such tough times when they're all getting insane compensation, tens of millions of dollars. Let's replace studio execs with AI. There's one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the best ones.
That was the best one. So these negotiations continue, but as I told you, I mean, more than 11,000 movie and television writers have stopped working. I mean, they really never were negotiating. The studios have given them an offer, and the offer stinks. The offer basically is for the status quo, in a sense, which means that you're not going to get a back end on streaming. You're not going to get residuals associated with streaming. And you're busted down on your upfront quote, the amount of money they pay you to work on these shows. And then you get into some of the specific ways in which you can be screwed out of money. That's associated with smaller writer rooms. They essentially beat out, we talked about this on Monday, I think, beat out story arc, beat out characters and all the rest. You do it in these, what they call mini writer rooms or mini rooms, I think. And in so doing, you've pretty much built your series, and now you only have to pay those writers for that month that they worked on developing the series. You don't have to keep them on for the entire year. So think about that. It goes from being a real job, a job that would allow you to put your kids to school, to pay for a medical, etc., to this gig. It's as though you drove Uber for a month. So I think it is horribly unfair. And I think these studios, Netflix, NBC Universal, Disney, Sony, Paramount, Warner Brothers, and others, they have money. I understand it's a changing economy and a changing system, that there have been layoffs in all of these places, but they're really trying to grab this moment to screw the very creative people who put this all together. I mean, put these amazing journeys of art together. I mean, I consider Succession art. I consider these shows, I consider these throwaway shows art. You know, the Mario Brothers movie is art. It's a creative effort. And I would suggest maybe the most important part is the first part, where you create story and characters, and the people who do that are real people, not AI. You didn't see the one I really liked? ChatGPT, this is on a Writers Guild striker sign. ChatGPT doesn't have childhood trauma. Our therapist keeps saying we have to stand up for ourselves. So here we are. Sorry. I like your offer as much as you like an angry female lead. I'm mad, this is in quotes, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore, was not written by a producer. This isn't 1984, writes another one. You get it. Now the question comes I'm sorry, go Kim. What was that?
I was just going to say, do you think that, and maybe I'm making too much big of a deal out of it.
Yeah.
Kim, how are
But
you?
does it seem like what the writers do, and the standards that they'll get set when it relates to AI and Chat GPT, that could really set the stage for other industries as well? This is kind of a moment where we're going to say either we're going to prioritize the people, or we're going to prioritize the profits. And especially as this new technology emerges, what are we going to do here? And so how we're going to treat our writers could send a message to other industries to say, you know what, we get that AI could replace technology that, is done right now by software engineers or what have you. But these are people with jobs, so find another thing for them to do within your company. I don't know. It just seems like we could set a standard here.
I think some of what you said, I would agree with, in that this is a moment. There are companies that have fiduciary responsibilities to make money and to feed the bottom line. They're not there to somehow find another positive experience where these people who are writers can do something within the company to help sustain them. That just isn't the way the company's built. It would be nice if it was, but it's not. So they're really under an obligation, as I suggest, a fiduciary obligation to create systems that feed the bottom line of these companies. And so this, everything from AI to this sea change in the way that residual payments no longer might have to be paid, this is an opportunity for the studios. So when you say this is a moment, you're right. It is a moment. It's a moment on both sides. It's a moment for the studios to lean in and to grab more and deny payments for many of these writers. And it's also a moment for these writers to assert themselves. It's a moment for labor, honestly. And it's not alone, as you know, as a moment for labor. I mean, the Oakland Public School educators are out, right? I mean, that strike is on. They want improved working conditions. They want better wages. I mean, they live in the Bay Area. The Bay Area requires real money to sustain yourself. It's 3,000 teachers, librarians, nurses, and other staffers in the Oakland Unified School District are out on strike. Classes are canceled. 34,000 students in the school district are not going to be able to go to school. This is the third strike that they've authorized over the past 5 years. They don't have an end date on this either, do they? There have been a string of labor standoffs involving academic institutions throughout California. As you know, in L.A., they went on a 3-day strike. That was just in March. That was in solidarity with bus drivers, cafeteria workers, the support staff. We talked about that. And last fall, about 48,000 employees of UC walked off the job wanting better pay. In March of 2022, teachers in Sacramento went on an 8-day strike before they reached a deal for higher salaries. So this is I'd suggest it's another moment, to use your words, Kim. I think it's another moment for labor across the country. You know, you hear on the other side, oh, unions, I'm against them. Well, first of all, unions may be having a moment, but I'd suggest in general, the percentage of workers who are actually part of a union is insanely small. But, you know, were it not for these unions, and I understand they have problems, they become these political entities, the unions are the reason you're only working 5 days a week. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that you think that this 5-day a week and you are off on the weekend thing was something that business came up with? Yep. No. You can go back and you can actually trace the way that union representation and coalitions of workers have helped change the face of work in America. So, and the moments like this are inflection moments for sure. I also wanted to mention that there's solidarity with the writers. This is the other thing I was talking about. Who was saying to me, was somebody on the show saying that, Colbert could go on and they could go on. I forget who was making this point. They could go on without writers. Oh,
it was yesterday.
Yeah.
I forget who was saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was suggesting that, I know it was Jefferson Graham, and I was suggesting that, they can, and they have, as it turns out. We checked it, and Leno did, and et cetera. Now I think, particularly with social media, see a sensitivity about doing that, and there is a question of solidarity with the workers, right? If you do that as Colbert, Kimmel, Fallon, that's just to name the late night hosts, what are you saying? You're not honoring the picket line. You're crossing the picket line. And so now there's this. And I was saying, I just don't think you're going to see a lot of that. I just think that the times are different, even since the last walkout. I think social media has a lot to do with it. You get the stink of being a scab on you, and I just think that a lot can be made of that. Drew Barrymore has pulled out of hosting the MTV Movie and TV Awards in support of the writers' strike. She's stepping down as host of this year's award show in a show of support to the striking WGA members. The Movie and TV Awards will still continue. They'll now go on hostless. So it's
what?
I know. I hope you're sitting down for this.
Going to be a weird show.
Yeah. Barrymore will not be at the live event, but she may still be seen on this Sunday show because she'd already participated in several pre-taped short films for the telecast. And those are still expected to air. So you're going to have that kind of solidarity. There are striking drivers in Orange County, California. These are the drivers who drive these access vans. This is in Orange County. They call it OC Access, but they're access vans throughout Southern California. They do a thing for disabled people and also for seniors who need some help. And I've had some experience with it because I've dealt with people who've been taking those vans and needing that transportation. Anyway, drivers for OC Access, that shuttle service for disabled, say they're walking away from the negotiating table because their employer wants to force overtime and unpaid lunches of up to 2.5 hours. They say their requests for a raise have been ignored as well. Officials with the OC Transportation Authority, meanwhile, say the driver's gripe is with First Transit, the third-party company that pays to operate the shuttle. So the county transit agency says it really doesn't have a seat at the negotiating table. Take it up with we contract with them, and you're striking us. You should be dealing with them. We're watching and observing. We have no role at the table, said the agency spokesperson. We can only urge them to continue talking. So that's another strike going on in California. So you've got the Oakland teachers, the striking drivers and the transportation workers, and you've got the writers in Hollywood. And that's just here in California. Crazy. I mean, law, I would suggest laws related to work and workers themselves are having a moment in American society right now, and it's not going away. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'll give you one piece of good California news. I think you'll see it. I think it's good. California tourism is back. Yeah, it's roaring back. Don't tell them about the smash and grabs. It cratered during the onset of COVID. The travel economy of California is so critical. And now it's on track to surpass its historic pre-pandemic heights, they say. This is a new report from the State Tourism Bureau. Last year, I don't know if these numbers will mean anything to you, but just because I've started, I'll share them with you. Last year, travelers spent $134.4 billion, and the state added 157,000 jobs. That corresponds to 93 and 94% of the 2019 levels. Before the pandemic, California had been on a 10-year upswing in visitor spending. Then travel nosedived, of course, because of COVID. And there were projections that it wouldn't return to pre-pandemic levels until 2024 at the earliest. So now, visitor spending anticipated to outstrip the $144.9 billion that travelers contributed in 2019. Pre-pandemic, right? So San Francisco, San Diego, Orange County, all enjoying this upswing. Last year in San Francisco, tourism spending hit $7.4 billion. That's more than twice what it was in 2021. Visitors poured into the city from European countries, began to roll back travel restrictions. European countries did, and we did. Chinese tourists have been a major contributor to San Francisco's economy, they note. And China's reopening of its borders this spring is expected to give the city an added boost this year as well. So San Francisco is benefiting essentially from COVID restrictions being rolled back in Europe and in Asia. And so the travel numbers are really strong. So you have that as well.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I do want to touch on the Clarence Thomas situation and a couple of other things. So, Albert, if I get your clearance for takeoff, I'd like to do some law and disorder. Are you good with that, sir?
That sounds good to me.
All right, here we go.
In the criminal justice system, the people
Pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care.
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat. You're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
I'm going to start, though, with Madison Cawthorn. You know that cute Madison Cawthorn? Madison Cawthorn is he's the dude, if you don't remember, kind of attractive white guy in a wheelchair. Does it mean anything to anybody?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Madison Cawthorn, he's a smack-talking right-winger. Yeah. North Carolina congressperson. He was picked up, as you may aware, at TSA for bringing a loaded weapon. Wow. Through the checkpoint at the Charlotte Douglas International Airport last year. His trial was set to start today, but he has entered a guilty plea for the third-degree misdemeanor charge of possession of a dangerous weapon on city property. So, for all of the TSA and, it's a federal crime and all of these things, I think associated with, somehow when you walk into an airport, everything you do, I think, takes on, I thought, sort of a more amplified kind of status. If you did something wrong, it's going to be amplified by the fact that, you're on this special property. It's no longer just, for example, SFO, San Francisco. It's a federal kind of thing when you start messing with TSA and all the rest. These are federal employees. Apparently not so much. He's getting a fine of $250.
What?
Yeah. No probation even required.
What?
Yeah. And his firearm in this United States of guns, so very important. You don't want to be separated from your firearm. Please, give me my gun back. His firearm will be returned to him.
What?
Yes. Mr. Cawthorn accepted responsibility for his mistake. Law enforcement noted his cooperative attitude at every step, says his lawyer.
See, I think if you're that dumb to bring it through TSA, it's gone.
I think
lost.
He might have even been trying to make a point. I don't know what was going on with him. Sometimes these guys do this stuff because it helps them, right? It helps them with, own the libs or whatever. I don't know. But it might have been just that he forgot it. But as you say, regardless, it's crazy. $250. You get fined more than $250, for parking in a red zone in some parts of San Francisco. I mean, $250 is less than they will fine you if you're in the carpool lane and you only have one person in your car.
It's just driving in the carpool lane, bringing a gun through TSA. I don't know.
It's insane. But again, that's the way the country's set up. And I'm sure that fine hasn't been updated for a long time. Leonard Leo, I mentioned him to you, the judicial activist. He of the Federalist Society and extreme right-wing positions that are informed by a deep religiosity, and there's nothing wrong with deep religiosity, but when you're trying to exert that religiosity on the USA, I'd say there's an issue. He arranged for the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, Ginny, to her friends. And by the way, it's Ginni, just so you know, if you're dropping her a card. He arranged for Ginny to be paid tens of thousands of dollars for consulting work. This is just over a decade ago. She was doing this work, or at least receiving this money, but her name, he had specified, must be left off of the billing paperwork. News story from the Washington Post. Leo instructed the GOP pollster Kellyanne Conway. Remember, she was, before she was in the White House and with Trump, she was a pollster for the GOP, a leading pollster. Leo instructed her to bill a nonprofit group that he advises and use that money to pay Virginia Ginny Thomas. This is all shown in documents. The same year, the nonprofit, the Judicial Education Project, filed a brief to the Supreme Court in a landmark voting rights case. Okay? Pay the wife of the Supreme Court justice, make sure it's off the books so her name isn't there, ask that Supreme Court justice to rule on this case that pertains to my interests. Leo, of course, a key figure in a network of nonprofits that has worked to support the nominees of conservative judges. He said he wanted to, quote, give Ginny Thomas, quote, another $25K. He emphasized that the paperwork should have, quote, no mention of Ginny, of course. Conway's firm, the polling company it was called, sent the Judicial Education Project a $25,000 bill that day. Per Leo's instructions, it listed the purpose as, quote, supplement for Constitution polling and opinion consulting. This is all shown in documents. In all, according to these documents, the polling company paid Thomas's firm, Liberty Consulting, this is Ginny Thomas's firm, $80,000 between 2011 and 2012, and it expected to pay $20,000 more before the end of 2012. The arrangement reveals that Leo, a longtime Federalist Society leader and friend of the Thomases, has functioned not only as an ideological ally of Clarence Thomas's, but also has worked to provide financial remuneration to his family. And it shows Leo is arranging for the money to be drawn from a nonprofit that soon would have an interest before the court. Remuneration is a dang word. In response to the questions from the Washington Post, which uncovered all of this, Leo issued a statement defending the Thomases. It's no secret that Ginny Thomas has a long history of working on issues within the conservative movement, he said. Part of that work has involved gauging public attitude and sentiment. The work she did here did not involve anything connected with either the court's business or with the other legal issues. Well, if it's no secret, then why did you make it a secret? I mean, if it's no secret, why couldn't her name be attached? Because it's a secret. It's outrageous. Clarence Thomas is a completely compromised, bought and paid for justice. And I don't think it stops there. I was always concerned about the philosophical compromises, meaning, I prayed with this group before I went in and rendered judgment on their case. We gave you that evidence. That was that was something that was talked about as recently as 2 years ago. Now it's about money. I mean, this is clean, bought and paid for, the Thomases. And that's just part of it. The Nazi memorabilia collecting billionaire who is funding Clarence Thomas's essentially adopted son. I mean, it's technically not his son, which is looking at, but funding the schooling at $6,000 a month.
And how does that happen? How do you ask a friend to do that? I mean, how do you ask a buddy, hey, will you pay for my grandnephew's education?
Yeah.
What is that conversation like? I'll do it if you. I mean, what? Right. I don't know how that even unfolds.
Who is having that conversation?
I guess the Thomases are having it. But yeah, I mean, he's clearly got blood on his hands. So that's Law and Disorder for today.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
I mean, they are all as corrupt. I mean, Leo and Thomas and his wife. And this is a jihad. They consider this a struggle for the soul of the country. So these lies mean nothing to them. They don't care about the lies because it's in service of a greater goal.
You, sir, are a liar.
Yeah. No. Pants on fire?
Liar,
okay,
your pants are on fire.
I feel better with the pants on fire. Quick Kim's News and then Friday Fabulous Florida next. Smash the like button like a boss. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
And on the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. We'll start with a story that was just messaged to me by John Daly. And that
So it's breaking news?
Well, I'm not sure what to make of this story. I'll let you kind of decide what you think here. But he sends this story out of Business Insider talking about how President Vladimir Putin of Russia has given up on ambitions to conquer Ukraine after military losses that could take a decade to repair. This, according to U.S. intelligence, that he has scaled back his ambitions in Ukraine, focused on the more modest goal of preventing Ukraine from joining NATO, and that Russia has suffered serious setbacks in its bid to seize control of Ukraine. So apparently, this information is based on U.S. intelligence. Is that propaganda coming out, or is that the real deal? Has Putin decided to scale back invading Ukraine? Has he suffered, so many losses, and this has not been what he thought? But according to U.S. intelligence, maybe he's ready to pull back a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's, I think in war, the first casualty is the truth, as they always say. So tough to know. Boy, you certainly hope that that's true. But it would seem extraordinary to me that he would pay such a big price and then completely, remove his troops and remove the Russian presence from Ukraine. I mean, I thought his takeover of Crimea was in a big blast, and I was surprised, although, you're in a tough position, that so little was done of it, that, the West sort of looked the other way as Putin took over Crimea. But, and I mentioned Crimea in this context because I think it will be interesting, and I would suspect that he won't, as I just said, remove troops from Ukraine completely. In other words, there'll be a Russian. Let's assume that there's some truth to what you're saying and what you're reporting, what's been reported. I think there'd be a Russian presence remaining there, and I think Crimea can be sort of the lead example. But wow, that's big. So thank you for that, John Daly.
Similar story that John Daly also sends is from the Daily Beast, and their lead is that Russian President Putin has pared back his goals in the war in Ukraine to focus only on maintaining the territory he has already seized. That, according to the same U.S. intelligence. So
there you go. Yeah, so he'll maintain.
Yeah, we'll dig deeper into this and find more information for you.
Pared back would be, I believe, paired would be a ding word.
Really? Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it would be. If it would show up on an SAT exam, old school, and I think, you know what I mean? A vocab.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll take it. I'll take all the dings I can get. Secretary of Homeland Security is in the border city of Brownsville, Texas today. This is Title 42 is set to expire next week. The residents are fearful a potential surge of illegal immigration will make their communities less safe. The Brownsville mayor is already issuing a disaster declaration, I can say it, as a way to address sheltering needs of people who may cross illegally. So this is kind of gearing up to be a big thing at the border.
No, it's going to be huge. Yeah.
It's
really going to be huge.
There's never been anything like this.
Not that kind of huge.
The head of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention is stepping down. The White House announced today Dr. Rochelle Walensky is leaving the agency next month. She's been in this position since the start of the Biden administration and played a key role in its response to the COVID pandemic.
I kind of had a little crush on her. I'm sorry to see her go.
Did you?
I like a doctor, first of all, and I think she's very smart.
I don't think you should apologize for how you feel.
Thank you. I'm going to miss her. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to miss her.
When you say you like a doctor, are you saying you like a lady with some brains?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I also like to have a doctor in the house at all times.
Dr. Emil Schaffhausen.
I like to have Dr. Schaffhausen in the neighborhood.
Well, why not? Yeah. California is giving hate crime victims a new tool to get the support they need. There's this hotline and website that was just launched as an alternative to contacting police or calling. It's a way some can stay anonymous when reporting they've been targeted or witnessed a hateful act. Governor Gavin Newsom, pictured here, says it not only ensures justice is served, but it gives people access to resources to deal with the lingering wounds that remain after such horrendous crime occurs, he says. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So you'll call a number and you'll get, you won't have to identify yourself.
No, it'll be more of an anonymous kind of situation.
Huh,
so
that seems like a good idea. You know.
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
No, you'll get a real person when you call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we need to watch it in Southern California. We have more cleanup today after 2 tornadoes touched down, both in Carson and Compton.
Wow.
One hit with 75-mile-an-hour winds yesterday morning. 10 minutes later, another tornado in Southern California, almost as powerful, swirled on the ground for about 4 minutes. The National Weather Service first thought it was just one twister. They issued an update later. Several buildings and vehicles were damaged. A large tree toppled. I mean, is this climate change? What's happening with tornadoes in Southern California?
Yeah,
Aren't they
might
supposed
be.
to stay in the Midwest?
Yeah, I mean, it does happen, but it doesn't happen a lot. So, but there was damage, and
Yeah, buildings, cars, a tree. Yes.
that's
So,
not cool.
and there was another one, remember, during the
That's
winter
not
storms?
fake. That's real.
No, I wasn't saying it was fake. It's not
Yeah.
cool. I mean, it's not good.
Very interesting. If you're trying to get to Yosemite this weekend, it could be a little bit dicey. Here's why. The one of 3 major highways is closed and could stay that way until July. The crews, they say, need time to repair a 200-foot-long crack on Big Oak Flat Road. It is not even safe for limited traffic. Yosemite first closed in February after it was buried in up to 15 feet of snow. Then again last month over concerns the melting snow would flood the area. Now visitors headed to the park have a new problem that one of 3 major highways is closed and could stay that way until July.
So what? There's a crack in the highway?
It is a crack 200 feet long.
Phil McCracken. Phil McCracken?
No, yeah, they do have to fill it in, don't they?
Yeah, but you don't want to drive on that road. What if the whole thing cracks apart? It sucks in your car.
Wow.
Guardians may that was my sucking sound effect. Guardians may replace Mario at the top of the box office this week.
Oh,
Guardians
that's
of
right.
the Galaxy.
Guardians of the
Volume
Galaxy.
3. Yes,
I think Michael is going to be reviewing it today.
He's also going to be reviewing the new Sam Heughan movie, and I can't wait to hear what he says about. I think it's called Love Again.
No.
Yeah. So the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is off to a franchise best start after raking in $17.5 million from Thursday previews alone. The movie is expected to make between 110 and 120 mil this weekend and overtake the Super Mario for the top spot.
Man, it's a lot of money.
And you know who's behind that movie? Writers.
No.
That's right.
Yo, look at you. Very well done.
This report is sponsored by you, I will say. And this show is crowdfunded. It means we have to rely on you. You can help keep us going by contributing via Patreon or PayPal. Find the links, so much more, at themarkthompsonshow.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, so excited, trying to keep the train running on time, and it's already a little behind. Very excited to welcome in for Friday Fabulous Florida. He joins us on Fridays whenever he's available. It's a man with tremendous demands on his time. Used to be the producer of this show. Now he's gone out to the outside, where he can make real money and get real benefits. Please welcome John Daly, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
John was with us last night, as was Albert, as was Kim, Tony as well, for the meet and greet, and it was fun. Didn't you enjoy it, John?
Yeah, it was great. Got to talk to people back and forth. It was cool.
Yeah, it really was cool. John's sort of a fan favorite, so it was really cool to have you join us.
And Lee told me his wife likes me.
Oh, so, Lee Hammer.
Lee Kopp.
Oh, Lee Kopp. Oh, that's right.
One of our listeners that joined us last night.
Yeah, Lee in San Jose. They're in Lee and Eileen are in the South
Eileen,
Bay.
okay.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, she likes you. Maybe good if you knew her name. That would be.
Well, he didn't say her name, and I couldn't see it. So.
Okay, all right, you're off the hook. Now, John, before I get into Friday Fabulous Florida, again, I want to thank you for being here. But I'm told that you're going to be not here for the next few weeks.
Yeah, I'm going to England. There's a coronation I'm going to try to catch the end of. I'm flying out later today, but my flight has been delayed.
No.
Probably due to the flyover of the military jets during the coronation, I imagine.
I see.
But yeah, I'm going to England for 4 weeks, so I'll be back in June.
Well, I certainly wish you the very best there.
Thank you, Mark.
As you know, I was educated there for a time.
Oxford.
And it was quite, yes, Oxford. I don't like to load it over anyone. But it was quite the education, and as you might imagine, there was a certain regal quality to everything. Yes.
Is there a Thompson wing?
No, I did study at the Bodleian Library, and as I recall, I had to take an exam to be admitted into the Bodleian Library. Not just anyone was permitted into the library, John, as you might imagine. There are a lot of processes and protocols and standards over there in...
We have processes and protocols and standards.
Exactly. So I hope you don't fall victim to any of those. John, I'd love to chat with you. You know I adore you, but sadly, we got to get things underway. So this is Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
I was saying before, last night we had a Floridian in our midst. Ben joined our meet and greet from Florida. So, Ben, thanks again for being there. A shoplifting suspect now facing charges after he allegedly used a stroller complete with a fake baby doll to attempt to steal merchandise at a Walmart store.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Well, just put this fake baby in the stroller, and they'll never know.
He was seen running out of the Walmart with a baby stroller. He was on U.S. Highway 411, was eventually caught in a nearby parking lot and detained. Police officers there in Madisonville checked the stroller and were concerned that there was a baby involved at the center of this. And look, it is a lifelike baby doll inside with an already made baby bottle, as well as the stolen items that he got from the Walmart, worth more than $1,000. That is the cutest baby.
It's a fake baby.
And it's a fake baby. That's the best kind of baby, isn't it?
Really? It's AI baby.
No crying. Apparently, this baby-themed disguise used to hide stolen merchandise is something that he's tried before. He'd previously been caught for shoplifting at 4 different Walmart stores in Florida. Wow. And during their search, of course, they found drug paraphernalia. There you go. So good for you.
Any Cosmo girl knows a stroller is the best place to hide your stuff.
There you go. And the baby, the fake baby, is safe tonight, everyone. So, yeah. A Florida man is arrested after dancing nude in the median on Dorchester Road. Come on, take your act to Dorchester Road.
Sometimes you just gotta.
You gotta get it out there.
Yeah.
A suspect is in jail. Witnesses told cops they saw him dancing naked in a median on Dorchester Road. Dante Gautier. That's a show business name. I got to give him credit. 34. So he's got a lot of good dancing still ahead of him. He's from Tallahassee. He's charged with 1 count of indecent exposure. Gautier had shorts on and was rolling around on the ground and dancing. Then he lost the shorts.
Yeah.
And,
that's the good life.
What he's got going here is a situation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Was he getting tipped?
About a dozen people called 911, but I don't think any of them threw any money at him, no. So, Gautier his dancing days are over for the moment. The Florida man who ditched manslaughter trial during lunch. Remember, we told you that story. He's now in custody.
Oh.
The long arm of the law. Got him, Kim. He left his manslaughter DUI trial during a lunch break. Remember? He just drove away. It's funny because it's just so... Like,
had
you
enough.
guys didn't think of the fact that he might leave?
Had enough
Maybe
of
he
it.
had another
I'm out.
trial to get to.
The Lake County Sheriff's Office and the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force developed information. That's what you do when you're in law enforcement. On Waldo's whereabouts. Agents spotted him in the Mount Dora area. And then Waldo was taken into custody in the parking lot of a Mount Dora hotel. Yeah, nothing good happens in the parking lot of a Mount Dora hotel, but Waldo is back in custody after having left at the lunch break.
That answers the question. Where's Waldo?
Oh, that's so strong. Thank you very much for that. A Florida man charged with throwing an explosive device at the January 6th riot and hurting officers. This guy was finally charged. You know, they have to go through all that video. This guy threw an explosive device into a tunnel that injured cops during the January 6th attack. That was, of course, at the U.S. Capitol. Daniel C. Ball, 38, was arrested on 5 felony counts, 3 misdemeanor offenses. This is all announced by the U.S. Department of Justice this week. 28 months after the riot. The felonies include using fire or an explosive to commit any felony and assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers with a deadly or dangerous weapon. You've got to think this guy's looking at serious time, potentially. It was a 19-page statement of facts, and videos from January 6th showed him entering the Capitol without lawful authority, they say, stealing a piece of a window shutter from the Senate corridor, and then assaulting a Metropolitan Police and U.S. Capitol cop as well.
Was there like a bingo card for them?
I know, he did hit them all. He really did. Remember, many of the J6 rioters, many of those who have been convicted and now are in prison, they were celebrated in the video that Donald Trump cracked open at that Waco rally. Do you remember? He did that song, and then they're kind of viewed as political prisoners by Trump and his minions. If Trump reascended to power, or even if there was enough pressure on whomever might have been might end up being the GOP 2024 nominee, let's say it's DeSantis or someone like that, those people all could be pardoned for those acts. A Florida woman accused of assaulting Representative Matt Gaetz at a food festival.
It's not fake. That's real.
A Florida woman arrested for battery on an elected official. She threw a drink at Congressperson Matt Gaetz. In the report, authorities say 41-year-old Selena Chambers of Tallahassee was at the South Walton Beaches Wine and Food Festival. She recognized Gaetz chatting with attendants. As Gaetz recalled the incident to authorities, she threw her drink at Gaetz and she, quote, walked away yelling and flipping me off. Gaetz was not physically injured during.
That's not the first time this has happened.
No.
And allegedly, Gaetz and his buddies there at the festival had been saying some things. There was some type of verbal.
Oh, they were provoking it, you're saying.
Nothing can really, excuse a physical attack, because I guess Gaetz was hit in the shoulder with a cup.
Oh,
and liquid
that's
spilled
brutal.
on a friend. So it's like, that's a physical assault. So you've escalated that from the verbal to the physical. However, there were some words exchanged beforehand, and maybe, I'm just saying, he wasn't the nicest fellow that day.
He could have just let it go.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
Well, I mean, it's if he really was stirring the pot and he was looking for a confrontation, it almost feels like he's looking for a social media moment. That's very Gatesian, you know. A Florida man who left autistic child home alone hits a store owner, claims to be FBI. Deputies were called to the 24/7 food mart around 2:30 in the morning.
Not the 24/7.
Good thing it's 24/7, right?
Yeah, exactly. They arrest this guy. He said that he'd left a 3-year-old autistic child alone. Store owner said he wanted items even though his credit card was declined. That's why the cops were called to begin with. The guy, Ryan Williamson is his name. He's 39 years old from Fort Walton Beach. He told the owner that he was part of the FBI. So that was one of those.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah.
I'm kind of a big deal.
All right. You should let me take these items, and the FBI will cover. Put it on the FBI's tab. Williamson left the store but returned, at which time he went behind the cash register and took cigarettes from a display area. Well, again, they're for the FBI, these cigarettes.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah.
I'm kind of a big deal.
The owner told deputies when he tried to stop Williamson that Williamson punched him in the chest. The owner chased Williamson out with a baseball bat. Deputies tried to arrest Williamson, but he tried to break free. A deputy then deployed the taser. It had no effect, though, Kim. Williamson grabbed it. Eventually, deputies were able to take him into custody. But it was a brutal back and forth. While in custody, he then uncorked that he had a 3-year-old autistic child at home alone.
Oh, so sad.
Deputies hurried to the home and found the child unharmed. Williamson charged with robbery, resisting an officer, child neglect, and depriving an officer of protective device.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Again, it's robbery, resisting an officer, child neglect, depriving an officer of a protective device.
Well, he may be physically unharmed, but not
Yes.
mentally.
Clearly, he has stepped off the curb. A Miami man finally was left stunned after stumbling across an unusual but undeniably cute meeting between a gang of cats and several ducks.
Oh, on cue.
There he is, Archie. John's cat makes an appearance for the cat-duck story. Pet owners often wonder what their four-legged friends get up to when they go out. And it's this kind of thing that surprises them. Did you post the picture, Albert? I didn't see. No? Yes? There it is. Those are cats and ducks.
Yeah.
I still have no idea how it happened. I would have expected the cats to eat the ducklings, but nope. I shared this online since I've seen nothing like it in my whole life.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah. Axel, the guy who was on Reddit, who put these pictures there, shared these. There's another one, too, where you see the ducks all together. There's a second picture, Albert.
You would think cats would be, looking at these tiny little ducks, thinking of them like mice, going after them. But
yeah,
they
maybe.
look kind of friendly.
Yeah, they are friendly. They might be, I don't know if they're shelter cats or...
We've never seen anything like it before.
No, I know. It's really wild. There they are. You see the collection of ducks as the cat stands alongside, and then mommy duck.
There is nothing in our history that quite compares
to this. I agree. It's pretty extraordinary. Yeah, as Kim said.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
I have not seen anything like this. We hate to do it, but as we wrap up Florida on that cute note, wait.
Uh-oh.
There's more?
Oh, wait.
Do we have a gator?
Is there one more?
Okay.
But it has nudity in it.
What?
Okay.
Yes. Oh, you've got to hear this. This is the big finish. Thank you, Albert. This is the way you stick the landing. A Florida woman is suing a gay and bi men's nudist resort for not letting her book a room there.
Wow.
Yeah. Island House.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Island House in Florida's Key West advertises itself as an award-winning resort for men. But Amina Chowdhury, she wants to stay there and filed a complaint against the resort with the Florida Commission on Human Relations. She says its all-male policy is discriminatory and should be reversed. The event that went down at the Pride fundraiser at this resort allows non-guests, including women, between 5 and 9 p.m. when clothing is required around the resort's pool. But then there is a period during which there is nudity, apparently. Isn't that right, Albert? And as I'm told...
That's the happy hour?
Yeah, that's the...
Maybe that's what we'll do when we hit our 11,800. Yeah.
Yeah, when we go 11,780, we'll do the all nude.
We're going to the island, whatever it is.
Yeah. She was told if she wanted to stay on, she'd have to book a room for the night. But they said, hey, we'd love to book one for you, but we're full.
Well, there really aren't enough spaces for straight people in this world. Right?
Everybody knows that the gay bi parties are better than the straight parties, John. That's why she wanted to go. And that, my friends, is the big finish. And may all of your gay and bi parties have a little nudity in them. Those are the best kind. Now, we hate to do it, but we must pick a favorite. I will quickly remind you of what you've just heard. A Florida man arrested on the fake baby doll shoplifting scam. The Florida guy arrested after dancing nude at the median there on Dorchester Road.
Very strong.
The follow-up that we did with the Florida man who ditched the manslaughter trial during the lunch break, finally now back in custody. The Florida man charged with throwing explosives in the January 6th riot. Now he's in custody facing trial. The Florida woman accused of assaulting Matt Gaetz at the food festival. The Florida man who says he left the autistic child home alone and claims to be FBI, so give me all your cigarettes and that stuff I want, even though I can't pay for it. The Florida man who stumbled upon the Weird Cat Duck Society, where the those two groups live in relative harmony. And finally, the Florida woman suing the gay and bi men's nudist resort for not letting her book a room. What is your favorite? I ask you, Albert, I'm going to start with you.
Woohoo! I really like the male nudist resort suing because it's just a ridiculous story. And it's probably either between that and the shoplifter, but I got to stick with the woman suing.
All right. Woman suing for the gay bi nude party entry. How about you, John Daly?
I had the same final two, but I'm going to go the other way. I do like Nudity Karen, but I'm going to go with the Shoplifting Baby.
Shoplifting Baby, very strong. And finally, Kim, what do you think?
I think I'm going with the Shoplifting Baby as well. I mean, that fake baby, that's pretty clever.
Yeah, true. Well, I can play for the deadlock by going for the gay bi.
We like creativity.
Nudity.
But you like nudity.
I do. And I also like the ducks and the geese together. Very tough. I'm going with the bi gay resort. Damn it. I can't. Yeah. Give me my bi-gay resort, I say. That's Friday Fabulous Florida for today.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
It's just that nudity is a very Floridian thing. You know, they have those nude beaches there and everything. And so, yeah, I kind of am into it. John, have a great trip to... what's left of the British Empire.
Will do. I'll say hi to the king for you.
Yeah. Really, really cool that you could join us. I'm so glad you could join us last night for the meet and greet. Thank you for that as well.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Have a safe trip. And I guess, you'll let us know. Send us pics. We'll share.
We'll do.
And by the way, in the online poll, fake baby doll shoplifter got 34%. So both of you, Kim and Daley really with the crew. You're with the popular vote. Cat Duck Society was number 2.
Electoral vote?
Gates assaulted Cat Duck Society, for those just listening on a podcast, 30%. And then Gates assaulted 18%. Woman sues male nudist resort. Only got 16%. Albert and I are both in the minority.
What?
But, yeah, there you go. All right, John. Good trip.
Peace.
John Daly, everybody.
Mwah.
Yeah, love it, love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Albert, we have a fork in the road. We have 2 distinguished journalists waiting. I'd like to get their thoughts on any number of things that are going on. We have a 3rd distinguished journalist in Kim waiting to do news. What do we do here, sir? You are the producer.
We'll just do the supersized news. I'm sure Kim expected to hear this at the bottom of the hour. We'll just get straight to Michael and Jim.
All right, we'll do Michael and Jim next. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
My wife wants some vegetables for crudité.
I was a basketball referee.
Feels great, baby.
Use Mark Thompson. It's unbelievably offensive.
What he's got going here is a situation.
I was fortunate. Everyone I worked with made me better at my job.
You are a cover-up artist, and you are a liar.
Oh, yeah. It's our Big Friday show. We scream out of Florida into turn 3 with what's going on with politics and with any number of world events. 2 guys who are so distinguished and so generous to spend time with us. One is the former ABC News senior correspondent, longtime White House correspondent, Jim Avila, everybody. Hi, Jim.
Good morning.
Another guy who is he is remarkable, has forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever know. You know him from TYT and beyond. He is Michael Shure, everybody. Michael, welcome, sir. Thank you for pulling yourself away from the NHL playoffs long enough to be with us.
Yeah, well, obviously, if there were a game going on now, I wouldn't be here.
You'd bow out. Yeah. You'd be. The thing I like about you is you're honest in your excuses. You don't like concoct some BS. Yeah. The events of this week have been extraordinary, and I'm just going to start with the great reporting that started with ProPublica, and then it's now gotten to the Washington Post, chapter and verse, showing receipts on the way that the Supreme Court seems supremely compromised. You can probably just start and finish with Clarence Thomas, although there's clearly a relationship between wealthy donors and religious organizations and conservative, I'll use it really like right-wing organizations that inform a lot of the decision-making on the part of right-wing justices. Let's start with Thomas. There's no cure for this problem, is there, Jim Avila?
Well, there might be. So I read this morning, that while Dianne Feinstein is gumming up the works with the Judiciary Committee, they could take all this to the Finance Committee, which does, in fact, have a majority of Democrats, and they could start subpoenaing people who donated money. Did they report it on their taxes? They can get their tax returns. They can call up the donor. They can call the kid who got the free tuition at these amazingly expensive $6,000 a month for this one high school. My goodness.
Yeah, and it was in Georgia. Where's the high school in Georgia? I believe it was in Georgia.
I think so. Georgia or Virginia? I can't remember.
I remember thinking. I was thinking, like if I told you $6,000 a month and it's in Brentwood, California, like in Southern California, or like you know what I mean, one of these Tony West Side schools of LA. You think, okay, well, it's insane, but I guess that's just part of it. But it's in one of these states where you don't expect that. Didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. Anyway, your point is well taken. It's expensive.
So they could call these people, including Ginny Thomas, who has now been revealed was paid by another rich guy through the back door through Kellyanne Conway for services not rendered, some at least $8,000. Did she report it on her taxes? So they could be subpoenaed for that. And Clarence Thomas could be subpoenaed as well through the Finance Committee. So there is something that could be done. The Democrats just got to get some cojones, which they don't apparently have. And Dick Durbin, who I've always thought was a pretty good senator from Illinois and know him from covering politics in Chicago, I guess he's in a trap. I don't think that he has, unless he calls for Dianne Feinstein to resign, which the Democrats are reluctant to do, then I think he's in a trap. But maybe we can move it to another venue. Michael, you know anything about that?
Well, I mean, the venues where this could be taken, it's sort of different. And I apologize. Just when we go to air, the neighbors decide to build a house. But I will say that in terms of a change of venue, that what you said about the Finance Committee is correct. Feinstein now today is saying that she's going to be coming back to the Senate. She has no intention of leaving, and they've been pushing judicial nominees through. And when she returns, she says they will get the rest of them through. So that indicates that she's not going anywhere. And I don't know of a time really when a senator of their own party has called for someone with as much importance and as high a profile as Dick Durbin has would call for Dianne Feinstein to resign. There doesn't seem to be precedent for that. But there are two different approaches they can take here. One is through the Finance Committee. One is through a committee of a joint committee of the House and Senate that could be put together for this, which you might not see Kevin McCarthy accede to. But the other thing is that they can then have an oversight committee created for the Supreme Court. It would not be something that would go back. It would not be somebody that would investigate these cases like this kid who went to school. It wasn't Virginia. It was the Randolph-Macon Academy of Virginia. Also what Ginny Thomas, this story about Ginny Thomas getting all these consulting fees and having them, that's Clarence Thomas's wife, having them leave her name off the ledger intentionally. It was a conservative group. Leonard Leo, who's a sort of conservative judicial activist, oversaw that, and that reporting is from the Washington Post. So there are ways that they can go about preventing this, of putting more oversight onto the Supreme Court going forward. But in terms of investigating it, it seems that right now in the Senate, the only avenue short of a joint special committee of both houses of Congress would be to go through the Finance Committee.
Now, there is some danger here too, Mark, and I have to say that it is supposed to be separation of powers. Okay, there is supposed to be a big dividing line between the presidency, the House, the Congress, and the Supreme Court. So, do you really want the House with its nutcases over there, made by precedent, have the power to start investigating Supreme Court justices? I have some trepidation in that because it could be used in a really bad way in the future. But it's gotten to a point where what's going on with Clarence Thomas is just inexcusable, but in as much the Supreme Court.
In as much as it's separation of powers, and we use the famous maxims of our republic, it's also checks and balances. And I think that the Supreme Court, whose symbol at some point is a balance, actually, is underchecked, and that is an important part of this as well. And so I think there has to be a mechanism. They don't have their own oversight. Who has their oversight? Who prevents this from happening going forward? I think that's the most important part.
Karen says the Supreme Court justices think they're impervious. They don't care who knows about what nefarious things they've done. Well, impervious and nefarious dingwords and trepidation of dingword. It is a fact that even at the end of these committees, assuming that you could get them together, I mean, I understand this is just sort of one narrative that could come to pass. There's really not much you could do if someone like Clarence Thomas and Ginny Thomas, if they don't blink. I mean, right. The only method in place, I think, and I ask you guys, for removal would be the impeachment, which impeachment and removal, you could never get the votes to do.
You couldn't get the votes.
Right.
This is an opportunity. I mean, in the idealistic place, it's an opportunity for John Roberts to, as Chief Justice, to step in. And I don't know offhand what sort of powers he has, but I think his voice in the narrative of correcting things would go a long way, and it would certainly go a long way to assuage members of the Republican Senate and House in terms of getting them on board. If they got the cue from John Roberts, it would change things a little bit. But again, I don't know the specifics of how that would work, but I know we often look to one person to kind of be the leader in making a difference, and he would be the person best situated to do that.
Yeah, you could change. You could. You change the number of cases that he's actually presented. From what I was reading, you could, in other words, you could begin to no longer present him cases. You could neuter him in a way on the court. But beyond that, there really isn't much Roberts could do in terms of his interaction with Thomas. As what you're saying, he should come out and be a little more full-throated in speaking to this. Right now, he hasn't.
Exactly.
Really
That's what I'm
talking
talking about. I'm not talking about the specifics of what he can do as Chief Justice. More than if he starts the dialogue, if he's the one who comes out and says enough is enough in some way, then and not singling out a colleague, but just saying we have to have different rules that we live by on the Supreme Court. Then I think it would make people a lot more comfortable talking about it.
Last week I touched on this, and we'll touch on it again this week, and then I want to ask you a Tucker Carlson question, which I didn't touch on last week, and I felt bad that we just didn't have time, because I think he's a very influential figure in American politics right now. But I want to ask you about the debt limit, and last week you had, I believe, both assured us that you felt that somehow there would be a deal reached, and that this is all, in a way, it's brinksmanship of the sort that we've seen before. I wonder if there's anything that's changed your position on that, Jim Avila, or if you still feel that's likely where we're going, to some kind of deal.
I'm going to just step in and say it's brinkmanship, and you get a ding for using a ding word incorrectly.
Oh, it's brinkmanship. Thank you. I didn't know that. Wow. I've been using it incorrectly, I think, all my life.
Yeah.
Jim, despite that, will you weigh in on this issue?
But
for all intensive purposes, you're fine.
How dare you?
I haven't changed my opinion. I've seen this theater over and over again. I don't think that, it's totally irresponsible to, first of all, it's money they already spent. It's not like we're borrowing again. The debt ceiling is about money that was spent last fiscal year that now we just have to pay. So I think that they'll have to do it. I think McCarthy is looking for a way out. I don't know if he has one because of his slim margin. It could cost him the speakership. But what are they going to do? I mean, they're really going to destroy the American economy? I guess.
Even if they take it to the brink. Not the brinkmanship, but the brink.
It's the brinksman.
Even if they do that, they affect the credit rating of this country. I mean, you're going to affect the bond markets, all the rest, even just by taking it all the way to the deadline.
Yeah. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, as Jim said, this happens every single time. This is not the first conversation about this, and it's not the first dance. And yes, there are problems with it, and yes, there are risks to it. And sometimes they come very close to having those risks and having those things happen, and they flirt with it all the way till the very end. But they don't let it happen, and they find a way out of this thing. So I'm never alarmed by this. The first time it happens, and the first time that Jim's wrong and I'm wrong, then we'll be wrong. But there's not enough precedent to convince me that anything drastic is going to happen with this. It's a political dance that they both sides want to be on the right side of, and you never know till it's over who, quote unquote, won that until it happens. And who wins it becomes political currency that they use later on. The other side shut down the government. The other side sent us into bad bond ratings. All of that happens, but you don't know until after it's over, and it never really gets as far as we think it will. Now you have the White House also looking into whether or not it's even constitutional that there be a debt limit in the 14th Amendment. So there's so many things that they look at now. I just
do you really believe that when Social Security checks stop being sent out to millions of people who vote, these old folks like me who vote and get a Social Security check, you stop my Social Security? That's not going to happen. Veterans lined up in the street can't get in the vet hospitals. You think that's going to fly? That's not going to fly even with the most right-wing Republicans. It's just not. I mean, it won't happen.
This from Champagne Wishes: stop overspending the money, and you won't have the problem. What is overspending the money? I mean, the Pentagon budget is so bloated; it's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment to the world, in front of the world, how much we shovel to the Pentagon. You could slash that budget in half, and you could still slash it again. And there's plenty of defense, and you wouldn't give up anything in terms of defense. I don't know what overspending means. I mean,
it has to do with what you like spending money on, and it's
right.
The question is reprioritization of it, and they're not they sometimes do reprioritize, but it's always in partisan ways, and that's what this battle is about in essence too.
I'll ding reprioritization just because it's a long word. Now,
but you could also do what Biden is saying. You could raise taxes on the wealthy.
Oh my God!
You
yes.
could take the money from corporations and the wealthy, which is in the Democratic proposal, the Democratic budget, who pay nothing more than they make huge amounts of money and they pay nothing. You could fix that. If you fix that, you wouldn't have to really slash a whole lot of things. Certainly, the Pentagon could be trimmed down, and that's a part of our whole society.
Yeah, this is such a good point. I love how we only focus when we talk about a budget on slashing, when the reality is you can bring revenues in and you can meet your budgetary needs, and taxing the super wealthy seems as though it would be a viable plan. I want to get to Tucker Carlson, fired from Fox News. There are recordings coming out, there are transcripts coming out. His former producer speaking to who he is and what he was. But I really wanted to ask you guys about his viability as a political force. I was seeing that he is now being considered and talking to the Trump people who he's now become cozy with, despite the fact that, all of these revelations come forward saying that he thought Trump was a joke, glad we're not talking about him anymore, that he may, as a result of some of these negotiations, be the guy chosen to do an independent debate. Trump, and then this presumes that Trump is the nominee, I suppose, or maybe it'll be a GOP debate. I'm wondering, give me the drill down on the relevance of Tucker Carlson and what his future might be. You're both media figures as well as political analysts. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, they're codependent, Fox and Tucker Carlson. They're both going to be hurt by this, I think. Fox is going to lose audience. They haven't found anybody, and I don't know that there is anybody in their stable that's really going to be able to take over that time slot and do well. I guess they're pushing for Jesse Waters, whatever his name is, who's crazy. And it's possible, I guess. But it's hurt Fox, and it's hurt Tucker Carlson. He needs that platform. Bill O'Reilly is still out there. He's still got a podcast. He's still making millions of dollars, but he doesn't have the influence that he had when he had the Fox platform. Same thing with Glenn Beck. They had a platform with Fox, and together that really made a difference. Will Tucker Carlson go to one of these other alt-right networks like Newsmax or one of the others, Onan? That's possible, but he'd have to leave on the table some $40 million that he's getting. Did I lose you?
No, we got you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
$40 million that he's getting as a payout by Fox. So will he do that? I don't think so. And as far as narrating a debate, I don't know that other candidates besides Trump would be interested in appearing on the stage with Tucker Carlson, knowing that it would probably be front loaded in favor of Trump. He may get some kind of interview or some kind of special on the internet that would include him, but I don't think that he will that he will narrate a Republican debate or moderate a Republican debate.
Michael, what of Tucker Carlson?
Again, I agree with Jim on the last part of what he was saying about his what role he would take as a moderator and who would go to a debate, and would Trump even debate some of these other people, and what purpose it would serve having Tucker Carlson do that. Because if that were the case, would Fox then show that debate? And then does that work for Republicans? It's a very complex set of circumstances. I think he's very prominent. I think, though, and Jim illustrated this, while it may be codependent, I think the dependence of the people who have been let go by Fox on Fox is far greater than Fox's dependence on these people. When O'Reilly went, it was clear that, no one's going to fill that spot. No one can fill that spot. Tucker Carlson came in and eclipsed what it was getting before. So I think Fox is in the driver's seat still until they are not. And I don't think anything has convinced me of the fact that they're not. But I think that his role can only grow in Republican circles as a mouthpiece for the kind of politics that have been so divisive. And I don't think Republicans want that. So I don't think they would accede to having him be part of a debate. This has been the undoing of their party, not the gluing of their party. And to that extent, I think that they want to reject it as much as they can. Could I see Trump making him a running mate? Yeah, I could see him doing that. I could see him employing Tucker Carlson in a way that gets that voice out there, but for a purpose that would further isolate him from a lot of the Republicans.
I see it. I'll give you a ding on that. The reality of Dianne Feinstein's situation is, to me, a little murky. I mean, I think the real reality is, I have no idea, but I based on how, cloaked in word speak there is in terms of her official pronouncements. That is, I'll be back. I've got shingles. I don't. Then there was word, as you know, in the last couple of years that she's just not who she was. Give me the arithmetic on Dianne Feinstein, Michael Shure.
Well, 89 is the arithmetic on Dianne Feinstein, and whether or not somebody can bring their fullness to the Senate. I can't profess to know very much about her condition. Shingles can knock you out for a very long period of time, though I do know that people who cover her have said that there's been diminishment before she even had shingles, and I think we know that. We can't pretend that she's not going to stay in the Senate, as every indication is that she's going to stay in the Senate. She would have, I think, resigned by now if she was so debilitated, but now we're getting the opposite kind of signal from her staff that says she's going to be back, and from a statement that was authored by the senator. So she's going to be back, and when she gets back, she's going to have a big caseload. And I think that is what gives a lot of people pause, not whether or not she resigns, but whether or not she's going to be able to handle all of this when she gets back. But it's an unfortunate situation. It's very frustrating for Schumer and Durbin in the Democratic Senate. And I would imagine very frustrating for the president, though the president who served with her is somebody who could probably be the one to persuade her when it's time, I would imagine, if that ever came to be. But it would be hard for Joe Biden to be someone who's running for the presidency again in his 80s to try and persuade someone that it's time to leave the stage.
Sure. Jim?
Yeah, it's just a sad situation. And unfortunately, it's become a little bit like the Ruth Bader Ginsburg situation, where our loyalty to a person who has served this country, which is Dianne Feinstein and Justice Ginsburg, is in the end going to hurt the country. And that's a shame. Ginsburg not retiring while there was a Democratic president in the White House, of course, led to the court that we have now. And Feinstein refusing to go into the sunset after a distinguished career is now tarnishing not only her reputation, but hurting the country. And somebody needs to speak truth to power to her. If she understands it at this point, I don't know, but talk to her staff and convince them that this is doing nothing but harming the cause.
Guys, thank you as always for being here. Appreciate it very much. Going to Washington, D.C. this week, guys. So next week from D.C., the seat of power, all that lobby money, just.
I'm going to be. We'll have to figure this out, Mark. I'm going to be going to Iowa to cover Donald Trump in Iowa, so we'll have to.
There's never been anything like this.
Well, I hope this really is a weird configuration. I hope you'll be able to be part of this because we'd love to hear about that.
Of course.
Okay. Great stuff.
I'll be
Thank
right
you both.
here.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm on the phone.
The stalwart Jim Avila when he's not on the phone.
Shingles can't stop that guy.
And Michael Shure. Thank you, boys. Love it, love it, love it, love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
My wife wants some vegetables for crudité.
I was a basketball referee.
Feels great, baby.
Who's Mark Thompson? It's unbelievably offensive.
What he's got going here is a situation.
I was fortunate. Everyone I worked with made me better at my job.
You are a cover-up artist, and you are a liar.
Yeah, I want to share with all of you that in the wings, in the green room, the great culture blaster who watches all movies and television, what's streaming, what's being recorded. He's amazing. The breadth of knowledge, what he brings to the party. Michael Snyder will join us in minutes. Smash
also,
the like.
Huge Warriors fan, right? So big win last night.
Giant Warriors and Dubs fan and Giants fan. Yes, true. Yeah. Albert and Snyder really bond over that.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Yeah, smash it for Avila, smash it for Shure.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Thumbs up for Kim, who's standing by with some news. So Kim's news, and then the culture blaster. Is that the way it works, Albert? I just want to make sure that I don't screw anything.
Yeah, man,
up.
a couple shout outs. Just a few today. And
I love
take
it.
Too much time.
All right. Good times. Thank you.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Aha. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show. And let us begin this newscast with a look at social media. There are some really peculiar things happening. Police across the nation are saying they see no danger to students as a social media threat spreads across the country. The non-specific threat appears to have started in Florida, of course, earlier this week, but it's now spreading nationwide. The apparent hoax is pretty vague, talks about an attack on Friday, May 5th of 2023, today. There's no mention of any specific schools, cities, or states, but some schools in America are beginning to see partially empty classrooms today as worried parents keep their kids home. So, the World Health Organization is saying COVID-19 is no longer a global health emergency. So we are reaching a new stage. The World Health Organization agreeing the public health emergency of international concern should be over. In a conference today, the head of the WHO, thank you, said the pandemic has been on a downward trend for over a year, and he said this trend has allowed nations to return to life as they knew it before the pandemic. There we go. Hunter Biden, here it comes. The former CIA Director John Brennan and the former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper will sit for a House subcommittee interview later this month. The panel investigating alleged weaponization of the federal government will question Brennan and Clapper about a letter signed by former intelligence officials claiming Hunter Biden's laptop had all the classic earmarks of a Russian disinformation campaign. Brennan and Clapper are two of the 51 former officials who signed the letter released in October of 2020. We'll see how that all pans out. The city of San Francisco is looking to revitalize its downtown area after recent store closures, including Nordstrom's. The San Francisco Board of Supervisors President Aaron Peskin says they're changing planning codes now for future businesses. The San Francisco Planning Commission approved a policy just yesterday that would allow for more types of businesses to come into San Francisco. Nordstrom announced this week they are closing both of their locations near the downtown area, including their flagship inside the Westfield Mall. And this is day 2 of the teachers' strike In Oakland, thousands hit the picket line yesterday demanding better pay and improved conditions in the classroom. The district offering a minimum 13% raise and $5,000 bonus, claiming it doesn't have enough money to address every concern. The teachers say that's not enough. They accuse the district of bargaining in bad faith. The state superintendent is now offering to step in and help both sides come to an agreement and some type of mediation. Schools, though, remain open on a modified schedule with mostly office staff leading the way. In San Jose, this is quite the cache of weapons. Check this out. Wowzers, that's a lot of guns. Yeah, San Jose police showing off all the weapons seized from a road rage suspect, and that includes 40 guns found in his home, they say. About half of them rifles. There's also a fully automatic submachine gun and 3 untraceable ghost guns. On top of that, the 71-year-old reportedly had 10,000 rounds of ammunition. Officers say he's accused of flashing at least 1 gun last month near the intersection of Quimby Road and Remington Way. Well, when you have 40 guns or more, I guess you can assume that one will be flashed sooner or later, right? I mean,
there's never been anything like this.
Yeah.
And what do you do with them all except flash them? I don't know.
Can't flash your gun. What can you flash? It's America, damn it.
I mean, I guess we're lucky this guy gets pulled over by police, right? I mean, I don't know. Wow, that's a lot of guns, though.
Yeah.
Here comes the pomp and circumstance.
Oh, I love
it. Yes. First Lady Jill Biden is now in London, followed very quickly by John Daly, the former super producer for the program, for the coronation of King Charles. President Biden met with the wife of the British Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, at Downing Street after arriving in the UK today. She also plans to visit a local school and meet with staff at the U.S. Embassy before attending a reception at Buckingham Palace.
Of course.
President Joe Biden will not attend the coronation, leading him to receive some criticism, despite no U.S. president ever attending a British monarch's coronation.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
That is such GOP spin. I mean, presidents don't go to coronations. I mean, there's a, he sent his wife, which is, lovely, but it's not a, I mean, please. But I love how we just.
Nothing!
But she's there.
Yeah.
And I am thinking we're going to get a bunch of pictures from John Daly. I'm really hoping that we get the pictures of the people lining the streets.
No, well, you can.
What
he's not there in time, Kim. He's not going. Is he? I thought he said he's going to get there a little because they delayed his flight.
I thought he was going today. He should still get some good shots, right?
All right, okay, but you lose hours, but okay, maybe.
Look at that nice hat. I think this is going to be interesting.
Well, if you're into costume, it's your event. I mean, there is just, even in its scaled down form, it's still $100 million affair with more costume changes than you'll find in a, theatrical production of
There's a reason that this place is fun.
Yeah.
So when we talk to a British guy, I believe the British guy said it's not a costume, it's an outfit.
Yes, he did. He did get his back up a little bit, me calling it a costume.
Yeah, you said costume.
But I
this is Talk to a British Guy.
And which British guy had the it was Anthony. Anthony explained to me that Mark,
it's
you
a
call them
costume,
costumes.
Mark. It's a costume.
He said this outfit is more than, what did he say, 1,000 years old? Like this is,
How dare you call it a costume?
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah, he got his back raised on that.
He really did. I felt bad for having somehow aroused his ire. But
we have processes and protocols and standards.
Precisely.
He then criticized how Americans speak right after. So
that's true. He really did go after. Yeah, really was quite a guy. He's coming back. Everybody loved Anthony. We really did love him. He's coming
you
back.
Can find the breakout video on our YouTube channel.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you can see that whole conversation with Anthony on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, British guy. Okay, so let's move on to Madison
there
Cawthorn.
He is, Madison Hawthorne, the guy I was talking about at the beginning of the show.
Cawthorn. Yeah, you touched on him earlier. This former North Carolina congressman pleading guilty to bringing a loaded gun through a TSA checkpoint last year. Republican Madison Cawthorn's entered a guilty plea for a third-degree misdemeanor charge for possession at the Charlotte Douglas International Airport. Cawthorn was fined $250 without probation. He'll have his weapon returned to him, according to his attorney, as you had mentioned earlier. Open AI, it looks like, lost more than $500 million last year developing ChatGPT. San Francisco-based company has raised at least $4 billion and has a wealthy partner in Microsoft, but the CEO Sam Altman has reportedly suggested his company will need to raise $100 billion this year to keep up with the cost of operating and improving ChatGPT. And big weekend in the Bay Area. I know you can't wait. It's been 20 years in the making, and look at it. Here it comes. It is the brand new on-ramp to the Bay Bridge. Sunday, May 7th.
Come on.
At 7 a.m. is when Caltrans will be opening the new right side Treasure Island, Yerba Buena Island off-ramp. It's an off, not an on the Bay Bridge's lower deck. Caltrans reminds everyone, slow way the F down. Yes, to 15 miles an hour.
They ought to have that on a sign.
Shouldn't they? And then again to 10 miles an hour at the second curve. They said it a little differently. There are still tight conditions at this location. So a first curve, 15 miles an hour. Second curve, 10 miles an hour. This ramp took 20 years to build. So it's,
Tom says it's the most beautiful off-ramp I've ever seen.
Isn't it?
It is pretty nice.
It's fresh.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah, pretty great.
The sign there with the tilting truck is a little worrisome. I worry that a truck could get wedged under there, but we'll see how it rolls out. And of course today is Cinco de Mayo, so that's really exciting.
Yes.
I was trying to find a picture of a margarita, but I was preoccupied with my Bay Bridge off-ramp there. I will say that this is a day of celebration for, it says Mexican Americans, but really I think it's really a celebration for white people who go out drinking, isn't it? Isn't that what happens?
Cinco de Mayo, that's what it's everybody is Mexican on Cinco de Mayo, if that's what you mean. Just like everybody's Irish on St. Patty's Day. Yeah.
Cinco de Mayo marks the Mexican Army's victory over the French invaders at the Battle of Puebla in 1862. Is that why you celebrate? Yeah, of course, that's why I celebrate. The observance of Cinco de Mayo has evolved into a colorful cultural event in many communities across the nation, centering on the rich heritage of Mexican music, food, and dance. Cinco de Mayo, often confused with Mexico's Independence Day. That's actually in September. Thank you for the booze. I appreciate that photo.
Nobody has ever put something like this together that I've ever seen.
Yeah,
that's really what it comes down to. Tonight, a night of crime, likely drunken debauchery, sideshows. I don't know. Throw in a little mayhem.
Yeah. That's great.
It'll be interesting.
A night of crime.
A night of crime. The Mark Thompson Show is crowdfunded. That means we have to rely on you. You can help keep us going by contributing via Patreon or PayPal. Find the links at themarkthompsonshow.com. We took out so much more because
it's Albert, we discussed this before the show. Not that banner. Find us at themarkthompsonshow.com. Yeah, an email.
Yes.
There's also another banner on there, Albert, that says,
Patreon and PayPal.
You can help keep us alive. Look, this one.
Yeah.
You can help keep us alive. Go to themarkthompsonshow.com and click the Patreon or PayPal link. That matches the copy that Kim is offering.
Criticism today.
I'm just saying that, Albert, that was...
he's doing his best, okay?
We discussed...
You can chill.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
What's
The
that?
Cinco de Mayo celebrations have started here on the Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, I already started.
I see. Okay, well, then that's a good excuse.
I'm Kim McAllister on the Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Why are you yelling?
That's not fake. That's real.
It's fantastic.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
I'm excited. Fridays really excite me. Thank you for smashing the like button. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of our community.
Smash
Thank
it
you for
with your
contributing
iron rod.
the way you do. Thank you for joining our Patreon group. The community has contributed on PayPal as well. I will acknowledge everyone who is on Patreon and PayPal. Every day we acknowledge you as your name appears on our credits. So thank you. The Cinco de Mayo celebration at the San Francisco Golden Gate Park announcement comes in from
Bandshell. Yeah.
The Surface Spins. It'll be at the Bandshell at 4 o'clock. Be there. Cinco de Mayo. Do you know how to say 4 o'clock in Spanish? Anybody?
A las cuatro?
A las cuatro is right. A las cuatro en la tarde, I think they would say. Just 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, but that was very good, Kim. You get full credit and full points on that. It's time. This man writes on the Marina Times website, also in the paper, the Marina Times, which is all over town. You can see his stuff across social media. He covers music. He covers movies. He covers television, streaming. He's amazing. He really is. He likes the funky Danish subtitled thing, the Korean subtitled thing, and then he likes the big Marvel movies, too. He's a true comic book nerd. He's one of a kind. And we have him on our show. And he comes and goes on a rainbow. He is the great Michael Snyder, Culture Blaster. Michael Snyder, I want to welcome you to our show. Thank you for being here.
Happy Cinco de Mayo to everybody. And, the Cinco de Mayo philosophy seems to be drinko till hio. Ay caramba.
Seems to be working there.
There's a reason to be drinking today. The Dubs crushed the Lake Show last night at Chase Center.
Yeah.
Too early to get too excited, but Clay, who slayed last night, is going back to L.A., his boyhood home, with the intent to make a statement. He wants to honor Kobe by crushing Kobe's team, the Lakers. 8 3-pointers last night from Clay. And then there's Steph. What can you say about Steph? And Kerr and the coaching staff who came up with a way to neutralize Anthony Davis. By the way, was almost bad mojo having a guy named Anthony Davis on your show this week.
I know, we did have it. That was the British guy. Yeah,
I know. I know you've been going coronation crazy this week, Mark.
That's
so
true.
I know you'll appreciate this inside info about the royal banquet.
Oh.
I hear that King Charles, he of the Dumbo ears, has requested a bowl of peanuts at his table and will be shelling them himself with his trunk.
How dare you?
That's
the
very
royal.
nice.
That's really not.
I'm not making inbreeding jokes. Come on.
You laid off the inbreeding jokes to
did.
make the
I
ear joke.
I didn't go so far as to say that Queen Camilla ordered an assortment of carrots, sugar cubes, and apples.
Oh, my
Noted
God.
horsewoman Queen Camilla.
How dare
My
you?
words upset so many people.
I'm getting upset by his
I'm
words.
sorry. I apologize.
You should apologize.
My bad.
I got to change the subject. You know it and I know it. Let's get down to the new movies. It's blockbuster weekend here
come
in
on,
America.
Michael Snyder. Tell us what's up.
Okay, you know what they say, Mark? Another quarter, another Marvel movie. It seems like every quarter, maybe 3 a year, I don't know.
You love your Marvel movies, though.
Do.
Tell me about this one.
This time, the new entry in the massive transmedia project known as the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the third and final chapter in director-screenwriter James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. And in case you don't know anything about the self-appointed Guardians of the Galaxy, they are ragtag interstellar do-gooders who originated in various Marvel comics. And on the big screen, because that's where they've really thrived, they're led by swashbuckling Peter Star-Lord Quill of Earth, played by the everyman Chris Pratt. He's joined by a group of aliens, bickering sisters Gamora, that would be Zoe Saldana's character, and Nebula, Karen Gillan's character. The muscle-bound Drax the Destroyer, played by former wrestler Dave Bautista. Empath Mantis, played by Pom Klementif. Living Tree Groot, voiced by that Living Tree Vin Diesel. And the raccoon-like cybernetically enhanced Rocket, who has the voice of Bradley Cooper. Now, these wackadoodles originally teamed up to pull heists, but have since chosen to defend the desperate and the needy across the galaxy. I'm going to try to avoid significant spoilers, but the main thrust of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 involves a quest to save the life of Rocket, who, as stated, looks like a raccoon, but talks, again in Bradley Cooper's best tough guy voice, walks upright, can pilot a ship, shoot a ray gun, and kick butt with the best of them. By the way, one of the great triumphs here is how palpable and real Rocket is on screen. I mean, the technology has gone, through the roof, and you never, for once, doubt that there's a talking raccoon-like creature on the screen.
Tom says cybernetically is a ding word. Palpable, certainly a ding word.
Anyway, over the course of the movie, Rocket's poignant backstory is finally revealed. We find out why he is the way he is, and along the way, they introduce a group of adorable anthropomorphic animals, and the movie's big villain, the High Evolutionary, who is one of the most cruel and sadistic baddies in the MCU. I mean, this guy makes the genocidal Thanos seem like Gandhi. I'm not joking, buddy. We visit the Guardians' new satellite headquarters, where Quill is lamenting his broken romance with Gamora. We spend time with new allies, including, get this, a telepathic Russian space dog named Cosmo with the voice of Maria Bakalova from the second Borat film.
Oh, that's great.
She's
that's
hilarious.
Great.
And the mohawked goofball Kraglin, played by Sean Gunn, who is the filmmaker's brother. And we fly to some strange new worlds. There are a couple of capers, of course, and some cool cameos. And we meet the powerful threat of the lab-grown powerhouse, Warlock, played by Brit actor Will Poulter. So all the while, the Guardians are bantering in amusing fashion. They're fighting amongst themselves and trying to save the universe. So after 2 Guardians movies, a holiday special, and 3 other interrelated MCU appearances, the cast members fully inhabit their characters and have amazing chemistry with one another. Volume 3 is honestly an all-you-can-eat buffet, and though it might seem a little overstuffed, I thought every dish was tasty. The entire thing is let's continue the food relation here, a banquet of action, humor, heart, and drama. And there are some very timely and worthwhile subtexts at work, most notably about animal rights and genetic experimentation, which speaks to a lot of your interests, Mark.
Yes, sir. I'm glad to hear that.
Well, I absolutely loved it, and I think that Guardians Volume 3 and the previous installments are among the best movies in the so-called superhero genre.
Wow.
Do you have to have seen the other movies to enjoy this one? Yeah, the first 2 Guardians films. You don't have to see any other MCU stuff. There are a few bits and pieces, plot-wise, that would you'd help knowing them.
The last time I saw, I did see both of them, but the last time when I saw it feels like it was a couple of years ago.
It was, because James Gunn tweeted many years ago some off-color jokes, and Marvel canceled him briefly. Then DC hired him to do The Suicide Squad, which is one of the best of the DC Comics movies.
And they said, what do we do?
And Marvel said, oh, no, come back for Volume 3. And in the interim, DC hired him to co-run their movie initiative with Peter Safran. So he's now not going to do any more Marvel stuff. This is the last of his Guardians films. And you got to watch the other 2, and it wouldn't hurt to watch the December Christmas special they did to see how the story advanced, and also to see what happens when 2 of them kidnap Kevin Bacon, the actual actor, as a fictionalized version of himself.
They did this in the Christmas special?
Yeah, from his L.A. home. They kidnap him as a Christmas present for Quill, who loved watching Footloose when he was a kid on Earth. And
that's really great.
Kevin Bacon sings a song. It's a lot of fun.
Now, where is that Christmas special? I want to see.
It's on Disney+.
Okay.
It's absolutely enjoyable, and if you watch the first 2 Guardians films, you can then watch this third one, and knowing all the important details plot-wise.
Where can I see? This is only in theaters,
It's in theaters, and it's a great theatrical experience, and it's longish, but oh my God, I loved it. I had such a good time watching
terrific.
it. Okay, let's change a pace. A cross-cultural romantic comedy from the UK. What's love got to do with it?
Hang on one second. This is not right. You didn't serve up any spoilers at all in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Not per se, no.
No, he didn't. Nick, you're wrong. You know what, Nick? You're a pot stirrer. This is Nick in the chat, and I'm putting you in timeout, Nick. How dare you say that?
There's never been anything like this.
Special. Nick, you're in timeout.
Good day, sir.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to know that Rocket is in peril.
Yeah.
And
you're an experienced reviewer. Nick, how dare you?
I didn't reveal how things turn out. And now we're getting off track here.
I'm so sorry. And Nick, you're in timeout. It's done. We'll talk to you Monday, maybe.
No, poor Nick. Anyway. I like Nick.
I like him too, but he's wrong about this. I'm going to try to avoid spoilers. Drops a spoiler. No, he didn't drop a spoiler.
Yeah, well, we can talk about this after the show.
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry.
Anyway, so
I stand by my ruling.
What's love got to
black and white, clear as crystal.
Go ahead, Michael.
What's
please
love
proceed.
got to do with the treads familiar ground? Okay, the plot wherein best friends who should be together somehow never make the leap. Anyway, the twist in this script is that Zoe is an Anglo-English Rose type and an award-winning documentary director who is unlucky in love. And Kaz is a noble British-born doctor of Pakistani Muslim descent who has decided that he's going to do the traditional thing and agree to an arranged marriage with a proper young lady, thereby making his parents happy. So Kaz and Zoe have lived next door to one another in London since childhood. Oh, is that a spoiler? No. Anyway, and though Zoe thinks the arranged or, as Kaz puts it, assisted marriage puts tradition and convenience over love and free will, and she believes it's a bad idea for her somewhat westernized friend, she won't try to stop him. Instead, she decides to make a documentary about the practice using Kaz's search for a wife with his parents' input as the focus. So this is fairly predictable, although it benefits from having the appealing Lily James of Pam and Tommy, where if you've seen it, she was fantastic and unrecognizable as Pamela Anderson. And she was also in Downton Abbey, where she was the winsome Lady Rose. So she plays Zoe. Lanky Shazad Latif from Star Trek Discovery, where he's an honorable Klingon spy, and Toast of London, which you should really see if you haven't seen it. It's a hilarious sitcom with Matt Berry. Toast of London features Latif as the annoying sound engineer Clem Fandango. It's a running gag that I smile thinking about. Anyway, he plays Cass, and Emma Thompson in comedic whirlwind mode is Zoe's kind, sometimes inappropriate, Yenta-type single mom. James and Latif have a nice rapport. There's at least one Bollywood dance number and lots of lively music from the Indian subcontinent, although, despite the title, no Tina Turner. Anyway, What's Love Got to Do with It was written by journalist and TV producer Jemima Khan, directed by Shekhar Kapoor. It's a pleasant enough date movie, even if it ultimately treads lightly rather than clearly attack or defend arranged marriages. It's nice. It's not a classic. It's not a world beater, but I enjoyed it, with reservations. It's in theaters. Okay, so
yeah, and winsome is a ding word.
We're on the rom-com tip here, brother.
Yeah.
Compared to Love Again, What's Love Got to Do with It is Dr. Zhivago. I mean, seriously.
I like this movie. I'm so excited.
Based on a German movie from a few years back that was based on a novel, Love Again is a trite update of better rom-coms from the 80s and 90s. Only the technology crucial to the setup brings it into the 21st century, and specifically New York City. So, winsome children's book author and illustrator Mira, played by Priyanka Chopra Jonas of the Citadel miniseries currently on Prime, loses her awesome fiancé to an accident. So heartbroken, she starts texting her innermost thoughts on love and loss to a dead guy's phone number. Her, late boyfriend, fiance. Sure. Only now the number belongs to newspaper rock critic Rob, played by square-jawed Sam Hugan. Rob is confused but intrigued by the text.
What luck that she would be.
Hunk.
I know.
Having lost one, she's got another on the line.
I know. It's
same line.
He's the guy from Outlander who is a heartthrob. I put a little picture of him here in a kilt because.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Sure. Yeah. I think that's great.
Right.
Shiver me timbers.
Yeah.
Kimmy, shiver me timbers.
Right.
There is nothing in our history that quite compares to this.
To this, in the sense that he lose the one number, but the number is still good for the
still
other
good.
hunk.
So he's getting these texts, and as it happens, he was just assigned to write a profile of Canadian pop diva Celine Dion, much to his chagrin, because he's not a fan. Still, Celine sings romantic songs, so he asks her for advice about how to meet and woo the woman at the other end of the texts. And yes, Celine is played by Celine Dion.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Mira is, of course, a looker, so when Sam gets a chance to see her, he thinks he's hit the jackpot, but she's also...
Yeah.
She's damaged by tragedy. She's attractive and likable, Priyanka, so, you kind of... you understand his interest, but this is bogus from start to finish.
Oh, no.
The drama is forced. The attempts at comedy are feeble.
No.
The whole enterprise is pretty wooden, and other than that, Love Again is notable for its product placement. Skittles
It's
candy,
about as bad as it can possibly get.
Bullet bourbon, and the biggest product placement of all, Celine Dion. And yes, the movie includes some of her songs. All I can say in summation is, my heart will go on.
I really
even
wanted
as
you to
this
like
movie,
this one.
even as this movie sinks faster than the Titanic. Oh lordy!
If I'm being honest, it was horrible.
Oh,
It's in
my
theaters.
gosh.
All right, listen, I gotta basically get serious here briefly.
Okay.
This is something considerably more challenging and visually stunning. The Eight Mountains is a beautifully shot, well-acted Italian drama, and it clocks in at almost 2.5 hours, but I didn't mind the length or the languid pace, since it's telling the story
Languid
of
is
the
incredibly
lifelong
a ding
friendship,
word.
the lifelong friendship between two men, and their 4-decade relationship, with all of its ups and downs, needs room to breathe. It has to breathe. So there's a quiet grace in this account of city boy Pietro from Turin, and the bond he forges with mountain boy Bruno when Pietro's family rents a summer home in the Italian Alps and the kids meet. So as the boys grow to adulthood, they, their families, and their friends go through various changes, and all the while they share screen time with the jagged glory of the Alps from season to season. So the de facto travelogue element of The Eight Mountains is a treat, even as the relationship between Pietro and Bruno is front and center. Although the gorgeous setting and cinematography are almost enough to hold your attention, the performances of Luca Marinelli as Pietro and Alessandro Borghi as Bruno seal the deal. These comrades drift apart and come together over time, but through it all, their connection sustains them. And The Eight Mountains, co-directed and co-written by Charlotte van der Schmitz and Felix von Groningen, also continues to hold your attention. It's just, you've seen some of these beautiful National Geographic travelogues. Spend a couple hours in the Italian Alps, Mark. It's lovely.
With Italians.
With Italians, speaking Italian, with subtitles.
De facto is a ding word. Tom's right about that. Let me just, what did you Champagne Wishes says, it's an Italian Brokeback Mountain?
No. I kept waiting for them to lock lips in it. I don't want to spoil it. I anger more.
Maybe it is, maybe it's not, you're saying?
I'm saying, don't climb the mountain if you don't have the back for it.
Yeah, okay. So that's in theaters?
It's not Brokeback Mountain, and it is in theaters. And
it's not Brokeback
if you have a big system at home, it'll eventually be something you can watch there. But again, this is sort of an immersive thing. And it moves at a languid pace. You can ding it again if you want.
I will ding languid again, although I probably should not. I will put my credibility glasses on to review the many offerings that Michael has weighed in on. You just heard The Eight Mountains. He liked it.
Very much.
It's the Italian subtitled offering, where, would you say the Italian Alps are a co-star in the film? Yes. Again, it's in theaters with Italian subtitles. Love Again, he said, no.
I'm sorry, Kim. It breaks my heart to tell you this.
Yeah.
But
I'm so disappointed.
the other
the trailer
rom-com
looked really bad. The trailer, but I was hoping against hope that there was something redeeming about this movie.
The other rom-com, Kim, get yourself ready for.
The other rom-com is What's Love Got to Do with It? And
that's a good one.
He said it was okay.
It was okay.
Right.
It's not breaking new ground, and you'll roll your eyes as one does. But
but it's okay. But the real star of today's Culture Blaster appearance is the new Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Michael Snyder loved it. He said it's probably the best of the three.
No, it's better than two. No, it's part and parcel of a whole saga.
Okay, so you don't rank them like that. That's something like a rookie like myself would do. You don't rank them.
No, I don't want to do that. I want to say take it as a whole, buddy.
Take it as a whole. I'm going to check out the Christmas special, which I never saw, before I go see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Michael, go Dubs.
Go Dubs. Exciting game tomorrow, Saturday, in the late afternoon. We, 5:30ish. Get ready. Put your blue and gold on and get ready.
I love it. You'll see him kicking around the city and all across California. writing, opining. He visits us on Fridays. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Bye, Michael.
Later.
Wow. It's always transformative when he comes through.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I think we have a major announcement.
Oh, well, I am always excited for a major announcement. I am...
a major announcement from the Mark Thompson Show.
Now we really must have one.
Major announcement.
Wow! Janet R. says, thanks for a great show and a great meet and greet night. Yeah. Love seeing everyone last night. It really was special. Thank you, Janet. And $100 is...
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's big. And by the way, I would say it's cry territory.
I'm not gonna cry.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna cry.
Yeah, but it is cry territory. That could have gone on for another hour last night.
Yeah,
I loved
it was
it. I
fun.
loved talking to everybody. And honestly, I feel as though I was just beginning to kind of get to know people a little bit, which is always frustrating, you know. So we hope to do another one. But
I'm not gonna cry.
there were some moving backstories among the crew. And I got an email today from Johann. And she has quite the life that we didn't even get to last night because we spent so much time talking about how to pronounce her name.
Yeah.
Because her name is pronounced Johanne because her father wanted a son. So they were committed to Johann, I guess, as a name. And so they named her that. And so we kind of got off on that. And I said, did you feel that as a child? That you somehow felt like, and she said, no. But as a result, we didn't really get into her personal history. And her personal history is fascinating. Yeah. So there were moments like that where you felt like, gosh, I wish we'd talked longer. Also to many who had, we just kind of scratched the surface with so many. So we went an hour and a quarter. We were only supposed to go 45 minutes, but I think the next time will be even longer because it was just so much fun. So Gail Guthrie with a super sticker. What up, Gail?
Big shout out.
Yeah, big shout out to Gail. Very cool. Sharon Kidd for $20. Come on, Sharon.
Big shout out.
Big shout out, and thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wes, for a $5. Always appreciate your participation and for throwing us something in the virtual tip jar. It really does help. We're this crowd-funded show, so we need you to at least consider supporting us if you've got it. I mean, I know times can be a little bit difficult right now, but we so appreciate those of you who are part of this community and those of you who have jumped on with Patreon. So again, if you want to support the show, visit themarkthompsonshow.com, click Patreon or PayPal. There are click-throughs for both, and you'll be able to join us there. Go Dubs! Happy Margarita Day, says Joe. Yeah, right on. We've learned so much about ourselves this week, haven't we? We didn't think we could do it, but we did. Nikki's show is next on the Nikki Maduro channel. Is Nikki back today?
Nikki is back today.
All right.
She'll have she'll have a Cinco de Mayo food segment. That'll be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Some other
Cinco
fun
de Mayo. How do you say food segment in Spanish? Anybody?
Comida segmento. I don't know.
Comida segmento. I will ding, even though un segmento de comida. Okay, segment of food. Acerca de comida. Yeah, there you go. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. Monday we'll be back here. I'll be from Washington, D.C. to go see my dad.
And Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson
my other
Show.
dad, Shadow.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Albert. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Till Monday. Bye-bye.